Hey, what's going on, guys? So it's been 1 year since we put our terrace raised garden beds on the side of our house, and I wanted to talk to you guys about today how they're holding up after 1 year, what we're growing in our gardens this year, and what changes we made this year to help support our plants a little bit better compared to last year. So let's get into the video. So for the most part, all the plants you see behind me were started from seed this year. The big mistake we made this year when we brought those plants outdoors is we didn't harden them off, so we did end up losing quite a bit of our plants. But fortunately, we had so many that ended up germinating anyway that some of them just happened to survive. So it ended up working out just fine. But we do know in the future that we need to do a better job at hardening them off before we put them outside full time. The two plants that we did not start from seeds were our green onions and potatoes. We propagated those from food that we had purchased from the grocery store, and they're working out just fine. We actually did that last year as well. So the plants that we have in our garden this year are San Marzano tomatoes, beefsteak tomatoes, green onions, potatoes, green bell peppers, two different types of squash, green beans, sugar snap peas, kale, and then we ended up having just one beet that came up as well. So that's what we have so far. We haven't been able to harvest anything but the green beans. We've gotten two full 1 gallon Ziploc bags full of green beans from our plants so far, so that's really cool. There is fruit on all of our other plants. We just haven't really been able to harvest them yet because they're not ripe at this point in time. The two squash plants we have, they're actually volunteer plants. When we went to pick weeds at the beginning of this year, my wife pulled the plants out and noticed that there was a seed that looked very familiar to some of the squash that we actually trench composted in here last year. So we left them in the soil and let them grow. Knowing that those plants kind of vine out, we did put them on the edge of the garden box so they could spread out in this rock area. We think one of them is a butternut squash plant, and we're not quite sure what the other squash plant is at this point in time. So the garden boxes themselves have held up really good, and that's to be expected since I did use composite materials. There is no wood at all on these garden boxes, so there's no signs of them breaking down prematurely or anything like that. So I've been really happy with how quickly they drain and just how well they hold up to the elements. I can't really think of anything at this point in time that I would change or do differently when I made these. So the one thing we're doing a bit different this year compared to last year is how we're choosing to stake our taller plants like our green beans and tomatoes and our bell peppers. Last year we just kind of used wooden stakes and staked them as they grew, and it was very challenging to keep up with, and it wasn't the strongest support system at all. So this year what I chose to do was follow some of the advice of more experienced gardeners and used T-posts and then zip tie cattle panel between those T-posts, and then just kind of weave the plant in and out of that cattle panel as they grow. They are extremely sturdy. We have not had any damage from any of the wind that we've gotten. We've had some really rough storms that have blown through the St. Louis area so far, and we haven't had any damage from any of those storms. And if we would have had those storms last year, with last year's support system, we definitely would have had damage from it. So overall, I'm thrilled with how our garden's looking so far this year. It's definitely much more full compared to where we were last year. Last year we started really late and we just kind of threw in the garden what we could at that point in time. This year we have a much more full garden. Hopefully we can harvest a lot more fruit from it all. I hope this video is educational for some of you guys, maybe just entertaining. I appreciate all the support, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.